I'm going to be talking about NFTs. I know pretty much nothing about the food business, but I know quite a bit about NFTs and cryptocurrency, blockchain, etc. So we'll start with a number, 21,000%. Anyone know what this number is? This is the NFT sales growth last year. It ballooned to about $17 billion transacted, buying what amounts to pictures on the internet. Let's look at another number. 71 million plus. This is the number of Ethereum wallets with a non-zero balance. So if you're a restaurateur or you're working in the food industry, this is your addressable market. 71 million people worldwide that have cryptocurrency they want to spend. With that sort of as our backdrop, let's talk about NFTs. Right here we have a Bored Ape. This was actually created by a team here in Miami, and they've raised something like $500 million selling pictures of apes. Before we actually dive into what an NFT is, I want to just go over some very basic high-level stuff so we can all have a shared context. So what is a blockchain? A blockchain, put simply, is a set of database records organized into pages and linked together through cryptographic proofs. Put another way, it's a set of transactions organized into blocks and chained together through cryptographic proofs. Let's talk about a smart contract for a moment. So a smart contract runs on a blockchain, and it's essentially an unchangeable piece of software runnable by anyone with the right permissions that adds database records or transactions to a blockchain. This is a pretty interesting concept because whatever you put as your program on the blockchain doesn't change. And if there's an issue with it, there's an issue with it forever. But more importantly, anybody can run it if they have the right permissions. So with these two items in mind, let's talk about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. They are a verifiable record of ownership over a unique thing represented on a blockchain, and they're often powered by smart contracts. Now, that's it. That's all an NFT is, right? But the real magic of NFTs is when they're endowed with real-world utility, right? That's where all of the value of NFTs actually comes from. So, how? How do we actually apply this to the restaurant industry? I have a bunch of wild and crazy ideas that I'm going to walk through here. So we'll start with something simple. At the core level, owning an NFT is basically being a member of a club, right? If you are a member of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, then you have a Bored Ape NFT. And this applies to restaurants as well, right? There's a restaurant here in Miami called Zzz's that charges you some very large amount of money for the ability to reserve a spot whenever you want. But that actually can apply to NFTs, right? There's actually a restaurant in New York called the Fly Fish Club, and they sold $14 million worth of memberships, essentially, ahead of its opening just by making them an NFT. This next one is kind of interesting, and this is where things start to get a little bit more wild, is, at the core of every restaurant is like recipes, right? Recipes make it special. You've got your special je ne sais quoi, right? But what you could do, theoretically, with NFTs to build awareness around what you're doing is you could actually sell those recipes as NFTs, right? And there's sort of two aspects to this, right? You might be saying, oh, this is like my special sauce. Why would I tell anyone how to make the things that, I'm selling to them? Well, number one, they probably still want to come and, get it from the original source. Number two, they're not going to make it anywhere near as good as the chefs in your kitchen. But this is an example of a website where you can actually buy recipe NFTs. And I think there's a big opportunity for restaurants to actually just sell your recipes, right? Like, make money off it. Why not? And there's one other thing on recipes. You could actually probably sell rights to future revenue from a particular dish by selling that dish as an NFT, right? You're essentially selling the recipe to some stakeholder and then getting royalties off of that. Think of like the Spotify model, but for the food at your restaurant. So another thing that is common in NFTs is exclusivity. And this applies pretty well to restaurants because some restaurants are actually super duper exclusive. Some are so exclusive that they will try to sell you $1 million one-of-one NFT. There's a restaurant called Chotomate that is selling a single NFT for $1 million. I don't know. I might buy that later. You can also do significantly smaller drops, right? So most NFT drops tend to have 10,000 items or more, but some can have less. And it's up to you, right? You're choosing how you want this to go. But 11, a nightclub, strip club, whatever it is, they are actually about to sell out 1,111 NFTs. It's just pictures of hats. But these things are going to cost like $9,000, and you're going to get private concierge assistance for the Captain ecosystem. I'm not sure what that is, but you'll also get additional concierge services in Miami. And I'm almost certain they're going to sell out. So you can make things exclusive, right? And this is all sort of going back to that very simple premise that NFTs are actually just a record on some database. And where all the value comes from is what you endow it with as its creator. This next one, I think, is actually also a big opportunity. Unfortunately, it's an opportunity for OpenTable and Resi. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but you can actually game reservations by writing a bot and reserving them and then taking them and selling them on a market, right? So this has happened actually in New York as recently as this year, where people, some finance bros, wrote bots. They collected all the open reservations at the best restaurants, and they started selling them on a marketplace. Now, NFTs actually lend themselves very well to getting a restaurant additional revenue, a new stream of revenue, right? So think of every single reservation. It's actually unique, and what NFTs do is represent unique things. So if you make a NFT for every single reservation slot and charge people for it, they can then resell it. And there's this interesting thing about NFTs is you can actually charge royalties. So if there's a secondary sale, like I sell my NFT to Nadal, then the restaurant will actually get paid some amount of money from that sale. And so this is happening anyway, whether we want it to happen or not. I think restaurants should take advantage of it. And taking it even further, this is just a crazy example of how NFTs can sometimes work. These are a pair of socks that cost $63,000. And the way that you actually get these socks is by owning an NFT. And once you own the NFT, you have to destroy it. It's also known as burning it in order to get the socks delivered to your home. Pretty much every employee that works at Coinbase owns one of these. But there's only 302, the numbers are a little small here, but there's only 302 pairs of these, and 198 have been redeemed. So there's a lot of people that have paid a lot of money for these socks, which were at one point just a record on a chain. I think loyalty is also another opportunity, right? This is a traditional restaurant thing. It's more for like the fast casual and like the fast food, But you could actually give someone a token, right? What's called an ERC20, like a cryptocurrency, each time they go into your restaurant. And once they reach some number of tokens, they can exchange those tokens for an NFT. And then that NFT could be like a free interview with the chef or whatever it is that makes your restaurant special. This one is something I actually really, really love. So if you can give NFTs out for off-menu dishes, that might be something that is unique to your restaurant, right? So there's a restaurant actually here that I love. It's called El Bagel. And there's a bagel that they have called the King Guava. And I ordered it enough times that with enough customizations that they made me a special link that I can go to buy it. And I call it the Bunsen. But you could do this for your customers, right? Like you can just say like, we're going to have X off-menu dishes, and they're only available to these NFT holders, and we're only doing a limited run of 1,000 NFTs. Let's, get this out the door, build awareness, right? All right, so the good news about all this. Directionally, you get Ethereum, which is going up, right? Just on the whole, it's extremely volatile, which is actually part of the downsides. But on the whole, Ethereum has gone from literally $2 to currently about 3,000. What else is good news? There's no one competing in this space right now, right? It took me quite a long time to gather all those very dispersed examples. So you have blue ocean, you have greenfield. You can go and build anything you want to differentiate yourself with NFTs here. And then, of course, the last part is royalties, right? You have a essentially infinite stream of revenue if what you've done, if the NFT you create is actually hot and valuable, because people will trade it, right? When you put something on any blockchain, you're essentially getting a financialized version of it that is running a 24/7 exchange, right? Like normal stock exchanges and markets, they close. Blockchains don't. They're global, right? So my reservation at Pubbelly could potentially be picked up by someone in Singapore hoping to make money on a trade. And that would actually result in more money for Pubbelly because they got the secondary revenue from royalties. The bad news. The bad news is this is extremely volatile, right? In a given year, you can see the price of the asset that's underlying all this experience go from 5,000 to 2,800. And that's obviously quite scary. There are ways to hedge this by using what are called stable coins, which are essentially pegged to the value of a US dollar. And I highly recommend anyone exploring in this space make use of stable coins. And then the other thing, which I don't have a slide for, is there is some regulatory risk in developing these NFTs and tokens, et cetera. I highly doubt that the SEC will ever go after a restaurant owner. But that doesn't mean that these aren't financial products, right? And that's one of the downsides. So how do we actually get started, right? I think for everyone here, there's like a bare minimum that you should know about if you want to actually do one of these NFT drops, right? The first is you should use the same tools that your customers would have to actually make use of NFTs. So I would recommend everyone download Coinbase Wallet, which is a wallet from Coinbase that is primarily based on the Ethereum blockchain. There's also a desktop wallet called MetaMask. Also recommend using that. This is how customers would actually buy your NFTs. And once you have that down pat, the next thing I would say is go and try to build one of these NFT contracts. And this is actually where I get to plug a really cool tool. This is called ThirdWeb. And what ThirdWeb does is they allow you to use pre-built smart contracts for NFTs that you can just configure. Say, I want to do like 10,000. These are the images. This is, the price. This is the royalty, et cetera, et cetera. And you just click deploy, and it puts it on the blockchain. You also get a full administration dashboard with it. And if you want to go even further and hire a software engineer, it comes with what's called an SDK.